Our new house had a secret that we couldn't tell before, but then we've never had a house where giants live next door. It was early just last summer when Father told us all we'd have to move to somewhere else before the winds of fall. Sometimes these things happen, and you move to some new street, and though you'll miss your old friends, there are new friends there to meet. Which brings me to the secret, and all its turns and bends, of the giants and our troubles, and how we all turned friends. In the middle of September, we arrived at our new door. We knew this place was different than any place we'd known before. Our house seemed quite normal, but the other on the block was maybe 10 times bigger, and was old and made of rock. And I swear as we unloaded, though I never felt afraid, I thought I saw a great big eye peek round a window shade. Everything seemed pleasant for a while. For 2 days all was quiet as could be. We never thought our silence would be broken, until the giants came to visit on day 3. My mother heard the knock and went to answer. I swear my mother never blinked an eye. You might have thought she hadn't even noticed that the giant rose up 48 feet high. I looked a little out my bedroom window, and there I saw a giant on his knees. I heard him ask my mother with a whisper, "Could I borrow 16 pounds of sugar, please?" Now, my mother and my father have had neighbors who have borrowed things that I considered odd, things like tennis shoes and salt and pepper shakers, things like tube socks and a bamboo fishing rod. But giving out that large amount of sugar, which my mother did, and she was more than glad, sent the giants into such a wild frenzy that they borrowed nearly everything we had. First it was the sugar that they needed. The next day the lawnmower if they might. The giants always seemed in need of something, whether it was morning, noon, or night. "Could we use your barbecue this evening? I really need this wrench today. Could we use your garden hose?" they begged us. Once they even borrowed Dad's toupee. The part of this that really was the problem, the part that really caused the most concern, was that for all the things the giants borrowed, not one item had the giants yet returned. Finally, the time came up upon us. We really had to stop this crazy trend, partly just because we had decided, but mostly we had nothing left to lend. We only had one worry as we saw it. How do you tell someone who is that big that you cannot lend another single item and not think that you'll be snapped just like a twig? We put our heads together for a moment and devised the plan that we would undergo. Instead of saying yes each time they asked us, we would kindly as we could just tell them no. A knock upon the door and we were ready. Our nerves were sitting on our fingertips. Mother opened up the door and listened as the giants asked her for potato chips. As gentle as a breeze our mother knowed them, but braver than the bravest knight of old. The giants stood up speechless for a moment. They could not believe what they'd been told. They huddled for a moment close together. We huddled up ourselves to calm our fear. We trembled as the giants looked us over, speaking softly so we could not overhear. It almost seemed like days we stood there waiting. Our hopes went back and forth and all around, when suddenly we saw the giants smiling. Then they laughed so hard they fell upon the ground. They laughed so hard we started laughing with them. We laughed so hard our eyes began to cry. We laughed a lot, our family and the giants. We laughed and laughed, but didn't quite know why. "We have to go, we'll see you in the morning," they said, and just like that they walked away. We looked at each other and we wondered. We stood there and had nothing much to say. We all slept uneasily that evening, thinking what the morning light would bring. Would the giants really come again tomorrow? What would happen when we heard the doorbell ring? A beam of sunshine burst into our bedrooms, along with noises coming from outside. We ran as quick as lightning to the windows. Our eyes could not believe what they had spied. There, in the front yard, right below us, piled from the street up to our door, all the things the giants ever borrowed, every single item, even more. Bags and bags of groceries and a toaster, Dad's toupee and flowers by the swarm. A change had taken place inside the giants, a change that truly made our hearts feel warm. We mingled through the mounds for half an hour, and we talked about the way we felt that day. We put the past behind us, then we started to put those many piles of things away. After all the household was in order, when each tool and every trinket was in place, we put a great big breakfast on the table, and an even bigger smile upon each face. It made us all feel good to be good neighbors. We promised that's the way we all would stay. We promised we'd be friends until forever, and that's just exactly how it is today. The end.